What's that? It's a little green Renault 5, right? Yes, you're right, and you're also completely wrong, because it's actually an electric car. Renault has launched a kit with a company called RFit to mean that you can convert a lot of their awesome, legendary little city cars into EVs. And this was one of the first ones. To all intents and purposes, it looks like a Renault 5, and that's because, to all intents and purposes, it is a Renault 5, except underneath it's got 10.7 kilowatts of batteries and a little electric motor. It's not particularly impressive. It's got 65 horsepower, but then the Renault 5 didn't exactly have a lot, and it'll do 60 kilometers. So really, it is for use in town, but there are some interesting things. Nothing else has been changed. It is a Renault 5. It still has a 4-speed gearbox. I don't actually know what that does on an EV, but it's still there, so it feels the same. And it means that over its life, you'll use less CO2 than actually creating a brand new car. But that's not the only one. Oh no, they didn't stop with the Renault 5. They thought they'd go all the way back in time and create a hot rod. This is based on an original hot rod from the 1920s, except they've stripped absolutely everything away. It doesn't even have rear suspension, because you don't need that to create the modern version. And then over here, you'll find another icon. This is a Renault 4 that's also been EV converted, and this is the first one. This one is available as of February this year. It'll cost you 11,000 euros. It's based on the Le Parisien Special that was launched way back in the 1960s, and again, it's still got a 4-speed gearbox, and everything else is the same. But that's where me banging on about everything being the same completely ends, because then you see this, which is a concept created by an artist to be half Renault 4, half home. It's called Studio Number 4, and it has solar panels on the roof to power it, and is actually not real. So you'll never see it on the roads, but it's pretty cool, but it is nowhere near as cool as the coolest thing on this entire stand, which is this Renault Twingo, which is both the best and worst thing at the entirety of Retromobile, because it has been redesigned to remind you of lowriders of the 1990s, back when the Twingo first came out. Yes, it's a Twingo with white walls and gold wheels, and it gets even better. Inside, the seats have got jewels on them. There's gold inlays. The word Twingo is written in terrible stencils on the side, and at the back it's got a tramp stamp. How cool is that? Any car that has a tramp stamp is cool. And this is another of the retrofit cars. That kit will be available on the Twingo pretty soon, as well as the 4 and the 5. And I guess the question here is, does that make this the future of small classic cars? Because if you can take your little classic that you've been running around for decades, just swipe out all the oily, horrible mechanical bits and replace them with a little cheap-to-buy electric motor, then that's going to cost you not as much money as spending £50,000 on a new small electric car, and save the planet. So maybe that's the way we should all be going? What do you think? Let us know in the comments.